Let's get straight into Arsenal and Alexis Sanchez and this whole thing, because it's literally everywhere, on the internet, on YouTube, on Twitter. It's incredible, and it's finally coming to a head. It looks like we're recording this podcast just as it looks like it's going to happen. He's going to go to Man United.
Roberto Di Matteo.
Incorrect. Good guess though. Good guess.
Right.
Concentrate now. And we'll talk about Arsenal, how Arsenal cope with this whole saga in terms of this game against Crystal Palace, which is a tough game for them this weekend. But the Sanchez thing itself, what are your thoughts on it?
I'm delighted that he's going. It's clear that he's the best player at their club. He's one of the best forwards in the league, and I always like seeing a great player leave Arsenal. But it's time. They're doing the right thing, Arsenal. They're getting rid of him. They're getting some money. They're getting good money from, if the reports are correct, 35 million this late in his contract. Huge amount of money for Man United to play. Crazy, in my opinion. Well, I said a while back, actually, on this podcast, that the fee that should be commanding is around 15 to 20 million for a player of his quality with 6 months left in his contract. 15, 20 million is about right. The fact that Man United are willing to pay 35 million
and 500k a week.
Yeah. That's an insane amount of money. But they do get a very valuable player for a long time.
So with that feeling like it's kind of inevitable, I mean, you might be listening to this or watching this now and it's gone through. Where does this leave Arsenal? First of all, let's do Arsenal Crystal Palace first, and then we'll go long term, because obviously there's still a couple of weeks of the transfer window, and Arsenal are linked with a lot of players. But going into this game, after the defeat against Bournemouth, where they looked sluggish, they looked demotivated, they looked like they were lacking confidence, and bottom line was the front three looked like they had just a real lack of quality.
Yep.
They then go into this game, and Arsenal, they've never failed to score against Crystal Palace at home. They've scored in every game at home this season. The home form's what's kind of, although it's been a really disappointing season for them, the home form's what's kind of at least kept them where they are right now. Away from home, little stat nugget here for you, they've got the worst amount of points. I think it's 13 in 12 games. Worst amount of points that they've had since the 2005-2006 season. So away from home they're struggling. At home though, it's been a bit of a solace for them, which leads to this whole, because there's chaos every time Arsenal lose a football game. It's absolute chaos, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's the kind of football club they are.
And all of these stats that I'm saying mean nothing, because going into this game of football, Crystal Palace are a different team to what they were, and although they've got an awful record against Arsenal, I've put them down in my family predictions as at least getting a draw.
Right.
I think it's a nightmare game for Arsenal to be playing right now.
I think the Sanchez stuff doesn't help. He's he's on his way out, and he's been gone pretty much since the start of the season. He hasn't played well this season at all, really.
No.
But this does cause upset, because Arsenal know that without Ozil, if he's still out, I'm not sure if he's going to be fit. But without Ozil and Sanchez, they're ordinary. Like any team, if you take the best two players out of your team, mostly, unless you're Man City, you're going to struggle. And that's what we've seen. And, as you say, Palace are, I think they're second in the form for away form. They won 2 out of the 1-2, drawn 3 at the last 5 games away from home.
Yeah, I'm beating last.
They're not the Crystal Palace at the start of the season. They do have the players to hurt Arsenal, especially in defence. Arsenal don't look great recently. And it's going to be one of those games. That said, Arsenal they always score at home. I think there's 27 games on the bounce.
25, yeah.
25?
Yeah. Every single game this season.
Although they were average against Bournemouth, they were cruising most of it. It was just for 3 minutes, 4 minutes of madness when they let in 2 goals, but by and large they probably should have won the game. So, I wouldn't read too much into it. It's just they have to work harder and rely on, the rubber to green a bit more when you don't have Sanchez and Ozil to pull something out of the bag.
There's a lot of doom and gloom with Arsenal, but in terms of the long-term look for Arsenal, there was a great article in Le Grove, which is an Arsenal fanzine, and it was looking at, actually, on the sort of face of it, you look, you're losing Sanchez, that means Ozil's definitely going to go, and it's all doom and gloom. But in Aubameyang, who they're sort of linked with very heavily, the Malcolm deal is another player that I think a lot of people are excited about him as a player. Those were the days for you. What's happened with all the the exciting Brazilian names? What, Malcolm and Fred? What is going? What, like Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, Kaká? Kaká maybe, I don't know.
Unsuspecting
Romario.
English names.
Yeah, Fred and Malcolm.
I'm just waiting for an Ian to come up.
What's the worst Brazilian name that there could be?
Yeah, Ian.
Jeff.
Jeff.
Ian's good. Yeah.
Dave. There's probably been a Dave, and then David.
Dave's on the horizon. But this article's looking at the squad and just as importantly the influence of Arsene Wenger in those dealings. And there's Sven Malsinstat has come in and he's pushing through the Aubameyang transfer. Apparently, he's also getting rid of a lot of the dead weight. It looks like they're going to get rid of a lot of the dead weight. El Nene's linked with going away. Walcott went. And it's not worked with Walcott overall. I don't think he's not been the player that they wanted him to be. Links that Giroud might go as well. Coquelin has gone. So in terms of the bloated squad that they've got of players that, bottom line, aren't at the level that they want them to be, you're getting rid of all those guys. And if you bring in Aubameyang, are you bringing in a player who can do just as well as Alexis Sanchez did last season?
But they're different players. So they're bringing in a number 9, and Sanchez is much more than that. That said, Aubameyang will have a comparable impact. He's an incredible elite forward. Spurs played Dortmund, played them four times over the last 4 years. He played 3 of those games. And he was at times unplayable. He's so fast. He's so prolific in front of goal. It's an amazing signing if they can get it over the bar. Really, as a Spurs fan, it's tough to swallow. But that, Aubameyang is an absolutely superb, world-class striker without doubt. There are issues over his discipline previously, although Dortmund themselves have said that was something that's in the past and hasn't happened. The kind of playboy antics, nightclubbing, that kind of thing. And there's been some disciplinary issues this season where he's just not turned up for team meetings. And Stoger, the current manager at Dortmund, he said, I'm not going to fine him. That doesn't mean anything to him, so he just won't play.
Yeah.
Which is a bold thing to do because he scored 21 goals in 23 games this year. It's massive.
And he scored 23 goals 2 years ago, 28 goals last season. In 2016, the Guardian consulted with a load of journalists and experts, and they put him above Alexis Sanchez in terms of the best players in the world. Obviously, all these lists you've got to take with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, they didn't mean
the next year, Aubameyang was still sort of top 20, but he'd still scored 28 goals. He'd scored more goals than Suarez, Lukaku, Mbappe. People who've scored who've cost a hell of a lot of money to different clubs. Yet PSG didn't want to spend 75 million on him in the summer, and Arsenal. I think there's two ways of looking at this Aubameyang deal, because why has no one just gone, wow, look at these numbers for a team that's just won a German Cup? They've not won anything else in the last few years.
Yeah.
Look at the numbers that he's been able to, put together. Why? Something's not right that no one else has gone for him, I think. But at the same time, there's a real opportunity here to get a guy who, bottom line, has scored those goals for Arsenal.
Well, yeah, there's two things. One is he scores lots of goals for Dortmund. As you say, he hasn't won anything, really, a German Cup. And that's the kind of thing that gets thrown around a lot about not winning anything. Apparently it's really important. I think he's wanted out from Dortmund. Dortmund have priced him out of those moves. I think there is a perception that Aubameyang is probably, his reputation is better than what he'll actually end up delivering. That said, I'm not dismissing him as a footballer at all, but I think people put Aubameyang with Lewandowski, Kane, Ronaldo, Messi, that bracket, but he isn't. But he is still an absolutely amazing and prolific goal scorer.
Has he not been just because he's been at Dortmund instead of?
I mean, it's
top 6,
arguably
7 clubs in the world.
second best team in Germany as well. You know, so it's not like he's at a small club. The other problem is that Aubameyang isn't a replacement for Sanchez. Mkhitaryan's a replacement for Sanchez, and they need both of those players.
Yeah,
Aubameyang coming in doesn't solve the Sanchez problem. They've essentially got 2 number 9s at that club now. So they have Lacazette and Aubameyang. I don't know how they fit both of those in, unless they change the formation. It would be a bit odd in the modern day to switch to a 4-4-2, or even if it's in the diamond with Ozil at the top, it'd be very good going forward. But with a back 4, I can't see it working in the modern day. I think they get torn to bits. So it's an interesting one. I don't know how much of it's about placating the supporters and getting this marquee signing through. I think bizarrely the Mkhitaryan deal is the most important one, because they get both of them and they have balance. They can play free with the free behind Lacazette or Aubameyang. But if they just get Aubameyang in, there's like an upgrade on Lacazette. It doesn't solve their problems.
The thing that would concern me would be there's a kind of, if you close your eyes and you look for a kind of a nondescript Arsenal player, he's 5'9", 5'10". He's not definitely a forward or an attacking midfielder. He's great technically, but he kind of wilts a bit.
Who?
This stereotypical Arsenal player,
sorry,
right?
Yeah.
The worry that you'd have, and you're never going to know if it's going to work out or not. But Mkhitaryan, there's been question marks over him being able to deal with the pressure at Man United, deal with the pressure of Mourinho as well.
It's an understood fact. He had problems with confidence, self-confidence, self-belief in and dealing with pressure at Dortmund, and he had the same problems at United when he first come. So I mean, mentally,
and Aubameyang, the same thing. We said it at the start when we first started talking about him, is that there's these little things that you're kind of like, oh, hang on, are there problems with him as well? Does he kind of give up on it? Does he start to misbehave when it's not really what he wants? And so that's not what Arsenal need. Arsenal need players with quality but grit when it gets difficult as well. So that would be my concern.
There's so much more to football now. If they sign both those players, they are quality marquee signings, and they've done very well out of this transfer window. That said, in the cold light of day, mentality is hugely important, and there's nothing to suggest that Aubameyang doesn't try his hardest when he's on the pitch. Of course he does. You don't score those goals without it. But the fact that there are question marks over the mentality of both players, and going into a football club and Arsenal where they already have question marks over a lot of their players, the mentality of them. Troy Deeney exposed that in that damning interview he did post-match. You do wonder about their recruitment policy, but look, you can't, as much as it pains me to say, you can't deny that if by selling Sanchez and by Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang, they're probably stronger for it.
Okay, let us know your thoughts. Are Arsenal stronger if they get Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan through the door in this transfer window from the turn of the year?